You're listening to Excellence Above Talent, a podcast where we have the hard conversations about the lives of men and what leads us to achieve greatness and suffer defeat. Hear from other men's journeys as well, as we all learn and grow together to become inspirations to ourselves and those around us. And now your host, Aaron Thomas.
What's up, my beautiful people? Aaron Thomas with Excellence Above Talent. I'm here again with Justin Granado. My bad, Granado. Okay.
Flesh.
Yeah. This is probably your third, fourth time on the podcast. So
my ratings are out the roof.
if you okay,
I want my monetization too.
Yeah, okay.
My money.
If you don't know, Justin owns one of the hottest gyms in the Permian Basin. It's a gym that is growing a lot. People are showing up, getting fit, working out, getting better. But he's also created a community of people that want to see each other do better. And it takes a lot to carry that burden to create an atmosphere where people want to show up and they want to work out, because sometimes those workouts are devilish, and you show up and you do it anyway. So I just want to let y'all know, if you're looking for a gym and you don't know where to go, come try out CrossFit 432. He'll give you 7 days for free. I'm just kidding. He'll give you 3 days for free. He'll give you 3 days for free. And don't be that person like, oh, I'm afraid of CrossFit, or I'm scared. Because there's scaling options. There's options where he'll figure out a way to where you can still be a part of the workout that's conducive to what you can do. Any more? You want to put anything else to that?
Come show up, try it out a few classes. Like I said, we'll take care of it. There's so many variations. We can scale as needed. You show up and we'll take care of the rest. You just come in with the open mind and some effort, and we can take care of the rest.
And a positive attitude. Don't be negative. Don't be a negative Nancy.
No negative Nancy, please.
All right, so still on the series of the state of manhood, and we're going to talk about the 5 different topics that I have, which are identity and purpose, emotions and mental health, relationships and brotherhood, fatherhood and legacy. I don't know. When they talked about fatherhood, I said, I don't know. I can't tell you. I mean, I can tell you like kind of what I grew up and what it was, but I can't give you any fatherhood tips. And then masculinity and society. And within those topics, there's questions that we're just going to have a conversation about, and then that'll be it. So, starting with identity and purpose, what does it mean to be a man today, and how has that changed over time?
Who knows? No idea anymore.
Facts.
I think that's such a loaded question.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different variables to it, and there's a lot of variance to it. And of course, everybody's on their own path, and so what your definition of being a man could be something completely different than what my outlook is, and so forth. For me, I don't have like wife, kids, and all that stuff. I do have people I take care of, that I do my best to, whether that's my mom, my nieces, my sisters, and my nephew, and then of course the gym people. But I just think that that's showing up for them in whatever capacity that is. And some days it's a lot, and some days it's not much. Some days it's just a text message. Some days it's saying, hey, I love you, thinking about you, how's your day going? I think just showing that your presence is there, I think is a lot to people. And let it not be like an empty presence. Let it have some value to it. Let it have some worth to it. Mm-hmm. And I think as long as you're consistent with that, and there's consistency there, you feel that, someone feels that and says, hey, that's a good dude, or that's a good man that's going to show up for us. And that's what means to me, that's the purpose behind it for me, is just, showing up, taking care of responsibilities, in whatever capacity that is for you and for those in your circle.
Gotcha. So how can men find purpose beyond society's focus on status and wealth?
I think it goes follow up to that. I mean, just to go back to what we just said, I think a lot of people may measure success and status and wealth based off of whether that's what they see on social media or whether they envy something that, someone in their circle is doing that they're not doing. I think that can either, elevate what you're doing, or it can put you down to something that you shouldn't be doing. And if you just focus on your path and what you should be doing, I think eventually you'll get there. But again, it's just dependent on who needs what from you, or in that capacity of what's close to you, what's more meaningful to you. If you're constantly chasing, so-and-so made X amount of money, so-and-so, is opening up this business this month and doing all this and that, it's like, okay, cool. Be a fan of theirs and congratulate them, but you still have your purpose and what you need to do for yourself and your well-being, and not chasing someone else's success.
So, how did you find your purpose? So do you think one, two-part question, do you think you are in your purpose? And if you are, how did you find that purpose?
I think it took me a while to find my purpose. I didn't know it for the longest time. And really, I tell people this all the time, when, I found my purpose, I believe, when I was going through the worst breakup of my life, losing my job and all that stuff. And I had to figure something out. And that was, through helping people through fitness and becoming a trainer. I didn't have any intentions of opening a gym. I didn't have any intentions of being a trainer. I was in a broke moment, and that became pretty much my richest moment in doing so. I think that, when I started figuring out and getting to know people and understand, hey, this is where I want to be. And I saw the pull I was able to get from people and what they were to do for me, like, emotionally and physically. I took it and I ran with it, ran with the opportunity. And now I feel like it's my duty and my purpose to fulfill that in whatever way possible, in whatever capacity is possible, and the best way. I do my best not to shortchange that. And that's, not only in a gym setting, it's, when I go home, when it's put into programming, when it's put into scheduling, when it's trying to, put people in positions where they can best succeed at, in all those different angles. I really do. That is how I believe I found my purpose, and where I kind of keep trying to push and push and push for. And I think it's a never ending game that we're playing here.
For sure.
It's I learn new things daily. There's a new interaction daily. Just when you think you've heard all the questions and all that, there's someone that surprises you with a crazy question or something, or a new problem that you have to mitigate, fix, and all that good stuff. So it's a never-ending game for me.
My kid brain wants to ask the question, what kind of angles are you putting people in?
Nah, see, and that's an example of a stupid question right there.
It's a pretty good question, man. What kind of angles? You know what I mean? Is it...
well, that's a success thing.
I'm just kidding.
Jerk. Jeez.
All right, so how does vulnerability fit into true masculinity, or does it fit into true masculinity?
What do you mean?
So vulnerability is something that you have to be open, you have to show emotions, you have to show feelings, you have to maybe cry in front of somebody. So does it fit in true masculinity? Like, if you're looking at what a man really is, does a man have vulnerable traits, or a good man have vulnerable traits, or is that something that weak men have?
I think a good man should have vulnerable traits. I think if they do not, I think that's a sign of weakness. I think that's a mentality of, hey, my shit doesn't stink mentality. I'm a badass and I'm saying you can still be a badass and still have your emotions and still be vulnerable and stuff like that. And I think too, if you're not vulnerable, especially if you have young women and young men in your family and things like that, I think you're missing out there, because in some sense, I don't believe you're getting that true connection with them if you're constantly, with the mentality, I'm a man, men don't cry, men don't hug, or men, this and that. I think you're missing out on a lot of emotional connection with them. And I think that's a very real thing, whether you have a spouse, a kid, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters. I think that the more vulnerable you are to their emotions, and not only yourself, and to hone in on your own, I think it opens up that relationship more. And people, I believe, notice that. There's some empathy there that they get to see and view, and with that, I think people can trust you more and things like that, because they know, hey, at least he's tapped in with his emotion. But also, you have to be able to handle your emotions, in a mature way. Those go hand in hand, in my opinion.
Yeah. Facts. So kind of going into emotions. So we're going to emotions and mental health. It says, why is emotional intelligence often left out of the conversation about manhood?
I think it goes back to that. Everybody doesn't want to show that vulnerability. They don't want to show flaw. They don't want to show like any chinks in their armor. And if you're going into battle, you're going to have some chinks in that armor.
Yeah.
If you're not this badass where you're just going to come out unscathed. I think everybody gets the nicks, the cuts, the bruises every day in life, and I think that's what shapes you, and how you react is what shapes you in that. I just think that's why they get left out a lot, because you don't want to be vulnerable with what's going on in your life and things like that. You want to keep things close to your chest. I'm a very private person, but I also make sure my emotions are in check as much as possible, and I'm at least honed in with them and what's going on with them. I'm not neglecting them.
Got you. I was telling Pastor Cliff.
Who's that?
I was telling him yesterday how, sometimes in relationships, when I chose to be emotional and come from like an intellectual side of how I was feeling in a situation, it always got turned upside down, and it became instead of me telling this person my feelings and emotions, it became what I wasn't doing for them. Mm. And that also is, that turned me off, especially when trying to communicate with women. It turned me off, because at that point, it's like, what's the point of, trying to tell you my feelings if my feelings aren't going to be heard, and, you're just going to flip them and make it about, you and what you're not doing. So
I think that's like, when early on, like some of my relationships, I saw how my mom, my grandma were in these abusive relationships, and I always wanted to be the opposite of that growing up. So when I had my first real girlfriend, I was a sucker for everything, all the flowers, the cards. I was doing all that stuff, and until I got my feelings hurt, cheated on, whatever. Then it happened again and stuff like that, and then it completely just flipped me, and I didn't want to do any of that anymore. So I felt like such a waste of time. And I was always the same, like you're saying, like open with emotion, and you just wanted someone to, understand where you're coming from, mm-hmm. and to be on an even playing field, and to be able to express those emotions back and forth is one of the, probably the grandest thing you can do in relationships. And we always talk about, communication is key. And I think that's a lot of it. But what also goes hand in hand with that, in my opinion, is, you can be a man, cry, state your emotions, things like that. And it goes both ways, but you also have to, adapt to those things. Like, okay, this is the problem. It's making me feel this type of way. How can I go about fixing this? And then if your partner sees you fixing it and sees you working at it, and then still just kind of disregards you and neglects you, then they're likely the issue there. Because if you're putting the work in while putting your emotions out there, there's not much else you can really give out there. So it's either, hey, we're going to do this or we're not. And if you're not, then get out.
Yeah. No, and I say, women are not the only one that does it. Guys, right. Guys do it as well. Yeah. When it comes to, friendship. Hey, I'm letting you in on something, and it becomes about something totally different. So how can a man break free from the pressures to hide their emotions?
Oh man, I think that takes a ton of work. That takes a lot of work. I think that a lot of self-talk, if once you get comfortable stating things, I've never been a big, like writing down my emotions person, like journaling stuff. A lot of times, if I feel a type of way, or, you know, a lot of people, let's give you an example. A lot of people run to Facebook and they'll just post whatever. They'll just type out a paragraph, push post, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what? You not think before you push post or update or whatever it is? But a lot of times, if I feel this type way now, a lot of times I'll type it out, I'll read it several times, and then just erase it. And then, you know, then I'll speak it out loud to myself and just
hold on, peoples. I'm the peoples.
no.
I'll definitely put some shit on Facebook and post it out.
If I didn't own a business, man, it'd be a different animal on Facebook. I joke a lot on there, but you know, there's some serious stuff I'll put on there. But
for sure,
but a lot of times I hold back a lot, and I'm also more of I'll tell you to your face, but a lot with self-talk, it helps a lot. Like if I type something out, I'll read it out loud to myself or just in a room when I'm by myself, just to get it out of my system. But it also makes me feel comfortable, you know, going on and, you know, if, let's say I'm with you, I can have that conversation with you because I feel more well versed in it.
Yeah.
Like I feel more comfortable in my own skin talking about it. And then I decide, okay, I can share this with somebody. Like I've gone over this in my head. I've kind of gone over every angle with it. I know like the reaction it may get from someone, so I know how to receive like their questions better and how to mitigate that more. I think that has helped me a lot instead of just being like the old gunslinger, just flying off the hip. And then I think then your emotions are really all over the place in that sense. So
yeah,
a lot of self-talk that's helped me out, just to be more comfortable with it, to bring that to somebody else's attention, whether that's a male or a female.
Got you. It says what are the biggest mental health struggles men face, but I would reframe the question and say, what are the biggest mental health struggles you face, if you face any, and why are they often overlooked?
For me, a lot of it is hey, is what I'm doing, am I going the right way with something? Am I leading this the right way? And a lot of it, I know, you know, I'm around people all day long, and with the gym, you know, my main goal is to keep that thing moving on, you know, the upward path. And there's a lot of times where I step away from a day of work and I sit there and question everything. I overlook, you know, for example, I'll think about every class I coached and I'll think about every person that was in there. And if I did this better, if I could have did this better, you know, I do that a lot. And that is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of just my mind's constantly going and going and going. So there's a lot of times, it's also a reason why I spend a lot of time alone, just because I need to decompress. And I think a lot of times I just get overstimulated with a lot of people. I'm like, hey, I need to get away from this space, you know, go for a drive, go out of town, go, you know, whatever it is, even just sitting at dinner alone. But I try my best to understand it every day more. That's just a constant thing for me. If I can fix it the next day, or, you know, if there's something, let's say if you're in a class and I thought, man, I should have had Aaron do blah, 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 so he could have did this better. Mm-hmm. The next time I see you, it's, hey man, yesterday I may have messed up. I think next time you should do this. Or, you know, example today, you were there with doing double unders, and we had a conversation about scaling the double unders, and I gave you a number to use, and I thought, okay, maybe that was still a bit too much for him. Next time we do double unders, I'll remember this. If it's that many double unders, then I'll kind of go, okay, remember last time we did this and that, and then I'll give you a different number. And I think that overall can make your experience better. And in the sense too, it not only is going to make you feel better because you're like, okay, I'm getting somewhere with this.
Yeah. But
then also in the same sense, it'll make me feel better for fixing my mess up, you know, from something that happened a week ago.
Well, let's have that conversation. It was 60 double unders. And I'm barely learning how to do double unders, and so I'm able to do like 10 to 15 at a time. But good Lord, I can't breathe afterwards. So it went from 60 to 40.
It's got worse from there.
And that first round, it felt good, and after that, I died. So, but it's just, I mean, I think there's beauty in the process, and you said something about. Sometimes you get overstimulated, and so you need, you know, to take that break for yourself. And can you speak more on about going to movies or going to dinner or just taking that drive and just being by yourself? Because I think that's a major issue that we have when it comes to manhood and learning how to decompress, is we sometimes try to force ourselves to be around people when, the best part would be just to walk away and just focus on you and kind of have that alone time.
I get asked that a lot, and what's crazy is I've done this for years. I don't even know. I think it happened after my second break in college when it was just a bad deal. I got cheated on, and she would always give me crap about if I wanted to go out of town with my friends, so I would never go. But she could go wherever she wanted. And one of them was my friends would always invite me to Vegas, and I'd always like, nope. But she would always get to go with her friends or her family, and I wonder why. But
hell, we know why.
When we finally split, that was the first place I went, and now, everybody knows I love to go to Vegas, and I'll go there alone. Like, I enjoy being there. And what my mom always said, well, there's not anywhere else you want to go, or there's so many places out there. I'm like, yeah, there is, and I'll do that later. But that's one place where I can go, and I feel just kind of like at home. I can go eat by myself. I can go gamble by myself. I can go watch a show, and I do the same stuff here. But I always get asked a lot, like, especially from guys. It happens to guys a lot at the gym. They're like, well, who'd you go with? I'm like, nobody. And for real? I'm like, yeah, like I don't need someone there to make me feel better. Like if I'm constantly chasing to sit beside someone, whether that's a female or a male, just to provide me comfort in how I feel, I think I'm on the wrong path there.
Yeah.
Like that, no amount of alcohol, no amount of food, no conversation is gonna, fix me in my sense. Like I need to fix myself and what I have going on, because I'm feeling a certain type of way for a reason.
Yeah.
And that person, example with like stuff with the gym, when I go home with that stuff from the gym, that person beside me, to me, is not going to understand my day to day at the gym. They're not going to understand what's like triggering me and how I react to things on the fly and how quick I have to make these decisions at the gym and stuff like that to give someone a better experience. I have to think about that on my own, and that's for me. That's what's going through my mind. But I'll get asked a lot that, well, how do you do that? And I'm like, I just go. I just say, hey, I'm going to go. I'm going to show up. I'm going to sit down and eat. I'm going to go to a movie. And it brings me so much peace to be able to do that. And it engages, I may be beside a stranger and just engage in the conversation with the stranger.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about what they're going through. They don't have to worry about what I'm going through. It's say, hey, how you doing? Where you from? I'm from so-and-so, whatever. What state are you from? What are you here for? And that's it. And then I, back to my peace. But man, the peace that those things bring me is, you can't put a dollar on it. Like it provides me so much peace to be able to do stuff like that. And I think a lot of people should really try it. I even think in relationships, like that's something that helps out a lot as well. Have your time together, and there's nothing wrong with breaking your line. But hey, babe, I'm gonna go to the movies tonight. I want to be alone. Like I don't want to be with the kids and things like that. I'm just gonna go, and then in the same sense, give your wife or your husband that as well, so they can go and they can do it on their own, and then come back together and have y'all's family time. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But really, truly, like soak that alone time in. Be alone. Put your phone down. Like you don't have to get on social media and scroll. Like just be in that moment for you. And I think that helps. It can help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was getting a divorce, I went to, and I don't mind going to the movies and eating and things of that nature, but I went to El Paso just on a whim, hanging out at a bar, eating. Some people from a soccer team came in. They were, rowdy and loud, and sparked up a conversation. They said, you should go. And I was like, okay, cool. So I bought a ticket. Never been to a soccer game before in my life. Bought a ticket, went to the soccer game. And it was, it's those things that people miss out on. The one-on-one, the human interaction, the speaking with yourself. And I will say this, it's, if you cannot eat by yourself or go to the movies by yourself, then there's a lot of work that you need to do on the inside to be able to be okay with being by yourself. Because being by yourself, there's a lot of, conversations you have in your head. Some are good, some are bad, and a lot of times people run from those conversations or those thoughts because they don't want to be by themselves. And I think it's super important if you're trying to be better and do better as a man, to learn how to be okay with being alone.
Yep.
I think it's super important. So relationship and brotherhood. This question, man, it's a question that I struggle with the most, and I know other men do as well. But the question is, what does a healthy male friendship looks like, and why do many men struggle to form deep connections?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question too. It's all depending on your circle. I mean, I think that, like, I like to think that, you know, my circle, my tight circle, like, I'm not hanging around a bunch of losers. I'm not hanging around people that are partying every day and just, you know, destroying their lives. I mean, my circle people all have, you know, good jobs. They're all doing for themselves. They have their fun and things like that. When we're together, we have a good time and stuff like that. But then too, within that group, we also have people that are going to push each other, whether that's, you know, in the physical sense and whether that's mentally, and push, like, and have hard conversations and really deep dive into those and not let off that gas. Like, you may have those tough conversations where you're going to have fights. And you're like, man, I really can't stand you today. You're really, you know, pissing me off today. But I think that if you should have that in your circles, and without, you know, taking it personal, things like that. And I think, you know, far often not, people do take it personal and they start thinking, well, why did so-and-so do this? And why didn't I get invited to this and that? It's like, you know, so what? Like, if you have your friendships, you know, intact at the end of the day, like, that's not worth losing over a tough conversation. And I think too many people walk away from that. They don't want to have the tough conversation. They want to say what they want to say, and then when you clap back at them, they scream, you know, the victim thing, and oh, you're mean and this and that. It's like, no, I'm trying to make you better. I'm trying to make you a better person, and you know, get you there where we're at. You know, whatever, you know, sense that may be. I think that you're there for a reason. You're there to elevate one another, and if your circle's not doing that, and if your circle's constantly changing, you're never around the same people. Very telling. They're very telling. You know, I know a few people that their circle's constantly changing. You never see them around the same person, you know, year on in. I'm comfortable to say that everybody that's, you know, that I'm very tight with, that has at least been around me at least 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, even more than that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. And that's because also, not only because we all mesh well, but there's a reason I stay in the circle. There's a reason they're still around, because I want to be there with them. I want that circle to be intact as much as I can. And we may not talk every day. We may not see each other every day. But I know at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I got them and they got me.
And what about the deep connections? Do you think it's hard for guys to cultivate, like, a deep connection?
I think if your friends let so much stuff slide, I think that's when it becomes harder.
Got you.
If you're not pushing those conversations with people, or just like bringing up random conversation or challenging with stuff, then I think those connections become harder. If you just have a friend that's just so hard-headed and keeps making the same mistake, you may need to move on from that friend. You may not need to be as close as you thought you were, and
love them from afar.
Love them from afar. There's nothing wrong with that. You can love them from afar, because at the end of the day, you're saving yourself. You know, you gave them enough grace. Cool. They don't want to take any advice. They don't want to be a better person. Then, you know, you need to grow from that. You can't always be at this constant. Like, if you're at this constant pace the whole way and you're never, you know, elevating, then you're going to bring eventually somebody down that's around you, because you allow too much leeway and things like that. And if they don't want to be challenged, then what's the point? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. It's kind of like, what you're saying is you're, you know, equated to cups. You know, you're your own cup, and you're filling your cup up with the things that you love to do. And as a friend that, is just struggling, and you're trying to help fill his cup up, and at some point his cup is overflowing, and he's just taking, or they're taking, and it becomes like at some point you don't want to get better. You just want, you know, the emotional connection with what I can give you, but you don't want to accept or try to get better as a person.
Yep.
How can men balance strength and leadership with equality in relationships?
I think everyone has to know their place.
Gotcha.
100%. Everyone has to know their place. Perfect example. Yesterday we had a partner workout. It's supposed to be teams of 4. I had to do a lot of teams of 5 just because number wise and wouldn't have made sense. And a lot of the morning classes, I even told some people it was kind of a shit show because nobody took leadership. No, there was no communication. It was just on the fly numbers and things like that. And I was like, what is, and a lot of times I step back and I just kind of watch it happen. And I think it's crazy just seeing it unfold. And I always look to, all right, who's going to step up? Who's going to say, hey, this is how we're doing this. This is the flow and things like that. I saw that all day, and I had I didn't know who I was going to do the workout with. Well, 4:30 came, we put together a team, and I was like, I'm making up a plan.
Who was on your team?
There was me, Z, Esmeralda, Fernie, and Lizette.
Gotcha.
And I showed up early, warm up, and I was like, that's not happening to my team. And I know that a lot of times people are going to look to me to lead, completely fine with that. I'm comfortable with that. So I made a plan. On the whiteboard, made a plan. Hey, this is how we're doing our burpees. This is how we're doing our front squats. We're staying with this plan. We did that for 2 rounds, and it was flowing. I mean, it was so good. And I noticed that people started falling off. I was on the bike, and I turned to Z, and I told her, what do you think? I'm thinking about changing the numbers so everybody stays consistent because everybody's falling off. I said, yeah, go ahead and do that. I hurried up, finished the bike, went to that whiteboard where I had the plan written down, erased it, changed those numbers real quick. As soon as everybody came back inside, I said, these are the numbers we're doing. And man, everybody hit it clockwork. So in that sense, if you know your place, you know where you're supposed to be, whether you had me trying to be the strongest person on the team trying to lead, and you had, people that were not that good where they were falling apart in the front squats, they knew their place. They knew, hey, on the weaker one, I need to do those smaller numbers. I cannot do these high numbers or I'm just going to get murdered and I'm no good to you. In a sense like that, I think the same thing goes with friendships. You have to know your place. Everybody can't lead. You have too many people, too many chiefs. I mean, what's going to happen? Yeah, you're just going to fight before you can come up with a plan. You may have 2 leaders, 2 strong leaders that, kind of like the manager, assistant manager. Someone's going to back somebody up, but if they feed off one another, everybody else, I believe, sees that and goes, okay, they got that.
Yeah.
Where do we fall in place? What do we need to do? I also think that that's a good, like using the Chiefs and Indians analogy. Let's say you have 2 Chiefs, and you have 4 other Indians, and they kind of go, that's also being a good, per se, being a good Indian. But I said, okay, what do we need to do? You tell us what we need to do. What are we good at? Then send me my way, and I got you.
Yeah.
I think in friendships it's the same thing. I mean, if you know, like, hey, if you're building up a house and your friend's good at tile, but you don't know jack shit about tile, let that friend do their thing. Let them make that their responsibility. Lay that foundation, and you put up the walls, or this person paints. Like, I think that all those things, you have to know your place.
What was y'all's time?
Faster than everybody else's. 37:08.
Oh, you beat us.
37:08. We cooked everybody.
I think ours was at. What was Clint? I think it was 38 something.
No, they finished like 39:50 something. They had like.
No.
Clint's?
Yeah,
they barely finished.
Yeah, I did. I was with Clint, sucker.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I died
with right when the bell was about to ring.
Are you sure? No, I think we had about 15 seconds.
39:51.
Okay, we had about 9 seconds left. What? It's funny because why you say that?
Hey, hold on, look. And so I'm going to look. While I'm on Spotify, this is perfect. We're talking about it.
I think there's only 2 teams.
No, we put Candy. We put Candy on y'all's team.
Yeah.
And I asked Clint who he won on the team between Candy and Angie.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you know what? Give us Candy.
Yeah.
And I thought. And I was going to pick Candy because I was like, I want her to be pushed.
Yeah.
She has the potential. I want her to be pushed.
100%.
So she went. I knew at first. I kept watching and I kept looking at Candy like she was trying to find her place.
Yeah.
Because you have all these dudes, big, strong guys trying to move, and Candy's just there like, 4'11".
Yeah.
Just not knowing what to do.
4'11" badass.
And finally, that's when I said, Candy, get over here. And I put her by the box, and I think she went after you or Joelle. And, seeing all that, I was like, okay, she's fine. She found the rhythm.
Yeah.
And I remember on the last set, she said do 10 on the front squats.
And Clint said 15.
I told him, I said, do 15.
Yeah.
And he told Candy 15, and she kind of looked at, but she straight up did it.
Held on to the bar.
No, I'm doing 15. I thought that was cool because she listened, she understood her place, and she did it. But I go on Redefining, Clint says on there, I just read a solace, he said, you did great. And then she puts, thanks, Captain Clint.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Like she looked at him to go, okay, what are we doing? That type of thing, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as everyone understands the purpose, so that was perfect.
And I definitely screamed at a few people, especially on the front squats. Whenever, because you do have a game plan sometimes where it's like, hey, we're doing 10 at a time, but then you see, well, Clint just did 15, so fuck that. I'm gonna do 15 because Clint's not gonna outdo me. And then so I'm doing 10. And everyone's like looking. I'm like, somebody pick up the damn bar so I can go because let's get it and go. So there's like an ebb and flow of, you know, there are times when someone's not paying attention and you have to be the guide, and there's sometimes where you're not the guy and you're just following along.
Yep.
And there's a strength in that because you're putting your ego aside and you're saying, all right, I'm doing this for the team. I'm not doing it for myself, which makes it a lot easier. But it's also hard because, you know, if you are a guy and you do have an ego, sometimes you let your ego get you in trouble when you should be thinking about the holistic of what you're trying to do, and it's about you, and then you get your feelings hurt, and then becomes a whole freaking deal. Still on relationships and brotherhood, why is mentoring important in shaping the next generation of men?
Oh man, I think that way you're not just rolling a ball down a dark hallway as a kid or whatever it may be. And I think that you can still have mentorship as an adult. And 100%. I think that's where a lot of people fall off. They think once they reach adulthood or
they know everything,
or they think when they get their first paycheck or open their first business that, you know, mentorship just stops or you won. But that's not the case. I mean, you still may venture on something new and you need that mentorship. You need someone to, you know, be right there beside you to help guide you and give you a level of comfortability that you may have not had. I know, I mean, you know, growing up, there's a lot of things, you know, when I started doing the gym, when I had the bar, when I started doing this media stuff, you know, all those things, you know, I had to teach myself. There's a lot of self-taught things there, but because I had a mindset like, hey, no one's going to do this for you. No one's like going to come save you. It is easier though if you have a mentor. Hey, what do you think I should do? Or do you know somebody that could do this and whatever? And they can help guide you that way to where it just creates an ease in your life to where you don't have to sit there and make things harder on yourself. You know, you have that someone you can lean on, like, hey, when times are getting hard, hey, what do you think about this? Or could you help me out with this and that? And I think when you have a mentor, a strong mentor, one that's, you know, has some stake in the game, I believe it can just take a bit off your shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. All right, going on to fatherhood and legacy. So I answered this question, so I'm going to ask it as well. You're not a father, but
you got one either.
That's what I said that too. Like, I don't know. It was, yeah. But the question is, what makes a great father, and how can men heal from their own past to be a better parent? So my question for you would be like, on your path to, I'm assuming you're going to be a daddy at some point. Daddy Justin, is that a
no?
I'm
not planning on that.
Well, stepdaddy, okay, stepdaddy Justin. That definitely going to be a stepdaddy Justin. All right, Justin's not going to have any babies of his own. But how would you come into a relationship with someone who has kids? What type of attitude or attributes would you bring to that relationship?
I think everything that we've talked about so far. If you have to define your identity, you have to have some purpose, your emotions in check, your mental health, have a relationship. I think all those things culminate to being a great dad or to showing up for somebody else's kid or whatever it may, in whatever capacity that is for you and your situation. I think that you have to have all those in check to become that, especially like if it was something that I was looking forward, in a father figure, like I wanted someone that was going to show up for me, and that never happened for me. And then that doesn't mean, hey, I'm going to do that to somebody else.
Correct.
Because I was constantly chasing like, hey, is my dad going to come pick me up today, or is he going to do this for me today like he does for others, and things like that, and I knew the disappointment that I felt when he never did show up, when he was never around. So why would I want to put that on somebody else? Common sense tells me I don't want to do that to somebody else.
Yeah.
I knew what it was, doing to me. It was a lot of hurt feelings and things like that. Once I was able to get over that and move on from them, like, okay, this man is not going to define who I am for the rest of my life. If anything, in a sense, it'll define me to be a better person. It's not going to sit there, and I'm not going to let it change who I am in the sense of, hey, being a good person, showing up for other people, showing up for my friends, or showing up, for a kid or something like that. That's not going to define me going forward. In hindsight, I use those faults and things like that, the troubles that I went through, to be a better person, to show up for people more, in that fatherhood type of state. I think that that's what can make you a better father. It's not just, hey, I paid the bills this month. Yeah. Baby, take care of everything else. I'm the man. It's like, no, that to me is just, that is probably a narcissist, and that is not masculine to me at all.
I think that's the old way of thinking.
Yeah.
It was the old way because women couldn't have jobs or couldn't, go out and provide for the family and that aspect, but they can now. And so just thinking that all you have to do is throw some checks and have a gun and be willing to die for your family is, that's definitely a part of it, but that's not all of what it needs to be. Why should how should men redefine what it means to leave a lasting legacy?
It's all specific to your situation. So like I was saying, to me that whole narrative changed. When I went through it, when I went through it, I did with my father. Not showing up, not wanting to be involved. I didn't want to do that to somebody else. I don't want to do it to my friends. I don't want to do it to my family. That's just not for me. Like, that's not my style. That's not something that, for me, to redefine that is to show up for people, to be there, to show, that there's somebody there that does care, that somebody there wants to show you their support, whether that's, emotionally, physically, financially, in some capacity, as long as you're leaving an impact. I think you're leaving a legacy as well, because that may plant that seed into them to want to do that. Like, hey, you don't have to have this hunky-dory, White House picket fence, relationship and all these things not to leave a good legacy. Still, your story can still be, written in a good light.
Going off of that, it's like not a question, but a question.
Not a question, but a question.
How can man balance strength with kindness? I think there's difficulties when it comes to, I want to be strong, but being kind is also something that I need to do as well. Because if you're just strong, no one's really going to want to talk to you. And if you're just kind, people are going to run over you. So how do you balance strength with kindness?
I think I may do that kind of well when people get to know me. I know a lot of times when people see me, they think that I'm going to be mean and things like that. And it takes a lot of, also in the same sense, I don't trust a lot and things like that, but I'm a pretty open book, and I'm open to having conversation and good conversation and pushing that forward. I think
people did not come to the gym for like 6 months because they thought you were like mean, and now she's like walking up to you having a conversation.
It's a wild deal. But I think and in a sense too, it's kind of like, man, like maybe a lot of people are missing out on like a good friendship or things like that because of that. But I don't know. I mean,
with the assumption that
I'm also not gonna walk around with a big old goofy smile every hour of the day. But I think
only when you're losing to me and
whatever, that's never happened. I think though, like with you can have a fair shake of both. I think just like you pick your time and place for it. I think you really do. Once, let's say if you're going through something and I really didn't know you and you always saw me as this guy that like, oh, he looks too mean or this and that. But if I pick up on that from you, like you're down and out, whatever it may be, and go up to you, that changes so fast because you're like, oh man, he really cares. And we can have that conversation. But in the same sense, you have to be open to that as well.
Yeah.
You can't always just be like judgy about it. You have to give someone an opportunity and a chance to show you otherwise. And if not, then you may be missing out on something you never even knew this whole time. But I think it's such a balancing act, and you have to give and take a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you are correct. And there have been times in my life where I was like, damn, that was too much, or damn, I was too kind. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about life is you get to have those conversations with yourself and then like fix it.
Yeah.
Don't let it happen again. So this one, let's see. I'm curious. How have feminism and gender equality reshaped what's expected of men?
What was your answer?
Mine was you have to be adaptable because it's different now, and women are boss babes, and they're going to they want to lead and they want to take over things, and there's nothing wrong with that.
A lot of them are boss babes until get a flat tire or something, to run out of gas on the side of the road.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
So they got to pick up something that weighs over 100 pounds. Pick it up.
Pick it up. Man, on this tangent, I have seen there's been like a question posed on social media, and a guy was like, are you willing to go 50-50 with me? And these chicks were popping their balloons. And he was like, okay, so let me break it down to you. I'm a teacher. I make $70,000 a year. You have your job. You make X amount of money a year. Are you willing to bring our salaries together? Or are you willing to keep your money and be able to, live with me on my $70,000 a year? And she popped a balloon. And in my head, I'm like,
what was that? What did that mean?
Like she don't want to be with him. And in my head, it's like it doesn't make sense because like two people together making $70K, that's $140,000 together. You can do some things with that.
Yeah.
But she wanted a guy, and in my head, I won't go there. But she wanted a guy that's going to be able to provide for her and on all levels while she got to work and make her money. And that doesn't sound like a boss babe.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like someone that's, willing to work as a team with somebody. That just sounds like someone who wants to have her cake and eat it too. Wants a dude to pay and take care of her, but also wants to have her own money and do whatever she wants to do. Which is crazy to me because there's no way in hell.
I think that there's a lot. I think that, this is my opinion on it. I think a lot of guys that, it's such a mixed bag too. A lot of guys that do not have their wives work anymore, or if they had a job and they don't have them work anymore, and they take that as a notch in their belt, like, oh, my wife doesn't work, so I make so much money, blah, blah. But they don't ever give them a choice. It's like, hey, have some kids. You're going to be stuck at home for the rest of your life. That may seem like the good move, and then, 10, 15 years later, something happens to that relationship. What does the wife have? She has nothing. She doesn't have a job. She's too scared to go find a job. She has no education to fall back on. And then she just stays in that shitty situation, and she's stuck.
Yeah.
She's stuck. She's has multiple kids, and she has nowhere else to go other than, hey, this is my life. I'm just going to stay here, and that's how my kids are going to be raised. And then they're going to teach their kids that, and this is a never-ending cycle, and this is my life, and I'm supposedly happy. And instead of just saying, hey, I'll give you a choice. Like, you don't have to work if you don't want to, or if you want to take a part-time job, you can make a part-time job. Even if, let's say the guy was making $75,000 a year and the girl went and worked a a little seasonal job or whatever it may be, a summer job, and she was making $30,000 a year. Yeah. That's $30,000 you didn't have.
Correct.
You're now making over your $100,000 family and things like that. Things are a little bit easier on both ends. It's easier on the family. You also, get time away from the family a bit. You can go do your own thing at work and so forth. And then you create value. You create value not only to show that, you have some, you can be independent and you can actually do for yourself. And in case something hits the fan, like, you're good. Like, you have your own little stash of cash or whatever, and your kids understand, okay, mom works hard, dad also works hard. Like, okay, we're good. That type of thing. I think so many people lose that, and without that, like, it puts these expectations on one or the other. If you're the stay-at-home mom or if you're the father that's trying to provide, like, either way, when you're just sitting there staring at each other and you're like, hey, I expect this of you. I want all the bills paid. And hey, I expect this of you. You need to clean everything.
And cook and all that.
And that's all it turns into. And next thing you know, you're just, the guy never gets to enjoy his life, and not just the woman.
And they're both banging somebody else at the end of the day, because that's usually how to, and it's crazy that you're saying that, because it's like, damn, if y'all would have just had the conversation and seen, like, so one of the things that I talked about that pisses me off the most is people saying, well, that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship. Yeah. The dumbest shit in the world. Because, I get it. That's what I'm supposed to do. But there should be a level of appreciation, because I am doing it. It's small. I don't have to do it. But I know it's a choice. I know it makes you happy, so I'm going to do it. Yeah. And you have two people looking at each other, and they're doing great things separate. Yeah. And they're looking at each other in a separate light. I'm providing. I'm paying all the bills. That's what I'm doing. Well, I'm taking care of your kids that you don't really want to be around. I'm cooking and cleaning and making sure the house is taken care of. That's also work. And so they're looking at each other separate, when if they can just see, man, if you put it together, we're doing a pretty damn good job. And I just see a lot of those things where guys are like, well, I'm taking care of everything.
It could be the real definition of, like they say, a power couple.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead, it's just, we're living separate lives and separate things, and we're just roommates at that point. Yeah. With a couple kids running around.
Bump that, dude. Yeah. No, I don't want that at all. All right. Last question. How can men lead and make a positive impact in their communities today?
All about action, boss.
Gotcha.
I think like you're a great. You and John are good advocates of that, of stuff to do around here. I'm always tied up with the gym and things like that, but just if you can just be involved in any sense and be like we said earlier about the mentor, just kind of giving someone a light to lead to just be a better human. Yeah. I think that speaks volume in its own right. Just like, with the gym, we always do the, wipe your feet at the door. I do that with reason. It's to keep a clean floor, to keep the gym clean. I know every time someone's new, that's one of the rules I go over with them. And I know it's always just like a kind of like a, like just, what do we mean? We need to wipe your feet at the door. And that simple thing, I think, can speak volumes just going forward. I couldn't tell you how many times over the years people always tell me when they go visit other gyms and out of town or in town, and they're always looking for a mat somewhere to wipe their feet at the door.
I'm like, hell yeah, no rules.
Or if you walk into a place and you see, you may see, and I know this happens all, because I go to the Marriott a lot, and they always have a older lady sweeping and mopping the floors. But they have that mat at the front, and when you walk in, there's also a mat. But I always see that, and the first thing I look for is to wipe my feet. Yeah, it's just a respect thing. I think that little things like that, people are always watching. Yeah, what you do and how you move about, like in your space, and if you're doing it with respect, if you're doing it, with honor, respect, I think that speaks volumes, because it's gonna affect somebody. Yeah, somebody's gonna see it. It's gonna plant a seed and go, okay, I'm going to do this because I saw this being done this way and it looks right. So I'm going to do that. Like, I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to be a better human. And it'll make you feel good. It costs you nothing. I mean, it really costs you nothing but a little bit of time, and that's it. You move on with that with your day.
Or come in and let your ego take over, and it's like, I'm not wiping shit, I'm gonna do what I want, and that's also dumb and annoying as well.
And then just start yelling at each other.
Yeah, because that's what's gonna happen. So, anything else you want to say? Anything else you have to say to the people?
I think I've left it all out there.
Yeah, you left it all out there.
My work here is done.
So, if anyone hadn't told you today they love you, let me be the first to say I love you. You're awesome. You're amazing. You deserve the best that this world has to offer. Do not quit. Do not give up. The world does not get easier, but you will get stronger, especially if you go and sign up at CrossFit 432.
Hey!
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And for daily, motivational, and up-to-date content, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Excellence Above Talent. And remember, keep moving forward, never give up, and you are never alone in this battle. We'll see you next time.